Previously on the World Endurance Championship, 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Right-hand side of the track, the muscles are working, our body is on the right. Okay, Lucas, stand by. I'll keep you informed.
It's round 4 of the World Endurance Championship and we have made our way to the UK. And as the country says farewell to the London 2012 Olympians, there is more to celebrate as the motor racing greats visit the capital city and use this opportunity to show the crowds their fantastic machinery up close. It's the final European round of the season, and with such a strong British presence amongst the teams, there's going to be some tough battles ahead. And for Anthony Davidson, it's a great chance to make a public appearance after his accident in Le Mans. As they enjoy the view from the London Eye, the drivers begin to focus on the task ahead. Our first stop on the road to Silverstone is Banbury, the home of Aston Martin, who, with an additional car this weekend, have certainly got their work cut out for them.
This weekend will be a very busy weekend at Silverstone. We're running 3 cars this weekend. We're one of only 2 teams on the grid to do that this weekend, along with AF Corsa, who are one of our biggest competitors running the Ferrari. We have 1 car in the professional class and we have 2 cars in the amateur class. And the cars are actually very similar. We decided to go back to the GT category, which is the root of the racing and how it all started really back in 2007 and 2008 when we won Le Mans. And that's very important to Aston Martin, the brand itself, because it connects very well with the road cars. The World Endurance Championship is a natural home for Aston Martin to be racing in for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a World Championship and that's very important for Aston Martin to be competing at the highest level. One of the reasons that Aston Martin Racing goes racing is to help sell road cars for Aston Martin, and getting to the developing countries is really important. So we had about 6 months to work on the car, and at Le Mans it was the fastest GT car. A big aim of ours is to win in the GTE category before the end of the year, and we certainly go into Silverstone this weekend with a real aim of trying to do that in both the professional class and the amateur class. There was the full 70 people from the team working this weekend, and there won't be many people not doing anything.
Our next stop is Brackley, which has been home to JRM driver Karun Chanduk for the past 10 years. He takes us on a little tour.
I try to do 320 kilometers a week, basically. I think I pretty much carried on the same as F1. You know, I'm still whatever 1,000 kilometers, how many ever 1,000 kilometers on the bike every year, and in the gym and in the pool. I think if you're fit for F1, you're fit for anything.
It's a different type of fitness. Mentally, it's much harder in sports car racing to get in and out of traffic and to be focused for such a long time and not make a mistake. I think mentally it's much tougher doing Le Mans than doing Formula 1. But physically on the body, I think Formula 1's a bit harder.
Hey, how are you doing?
You all right?
Yes, how's life?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Business is good?
Yes, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. Time for curry,
yeah?
I think.
Yeah,
curry.
Mr. Curry, huh?
So have we been selling lots of these or not?
Oh, everybody asks for it, you know?
Curry is always good for a race weekend. It's always good for you. So good. Should we go to the kitchen and see what they're making in there? Maybe, yeah? Let's have a look inside and see what we're up to. So they put it it's in a tandoor, what they call here. So there's coal inside, it's done on charcoal. One of my new favorites. This with some lentils and some vegetables on the side is it's a good balanced curry. It's become quite popular with the racing community. I've seen Damon Hill, John Watson, Derek Warwick, Nico Hülkenberg, Sergio Perez. You know, you see a lot of racing people. The biggest thing in Silverstone will be the weather. Yeah, again, if we can get a podium, it'll be a fantastic result on home ground for the team. But otherwise, to be best of the rest behind the manufacturer cars.
And as we leave Karun to his Indian meal, we make the final leg of our journey through the British countryside of Northamptonshire to the famous Silverstone circuit. Steeped in motorsport history and having such a strong place in so many of the drivers' hearts, the competition is going to be tough. The circuit may be sporting a new look with the recent modifications and the new wing. However, Silverstone has played host to some fantastic sports car races over the years, and 2012 proves to be no different. So who will be victorious this weekend? Let's wait and see.
Hello, I'm Martin Brundle. This is the FIA World Endurance Championship. Welcome to the 6 Hours of Silverstone.
Martin Brundle will not only be competing in the race at Silverstone, the motorsporting legend will also be our host and talk us through the speciality of endurance racing. It's Saturday at Silverstone and it's time for qualifying. We look inside the LMP1 team Straka Racing 1 hour before their session and see how they prepare for the task ahead. And it's all down to Danny Watts, who will be taking qualifying. The team have a briefing and talk tactics, and it's all reliant on the weather.
Just remember this morning when Johnny went out, so that's the Wellington Straight, there was some standing water there. You might need to watch out for that as it's drying out.
There's a dry line appearing now.
There's a dry line appearing, but there's
Rain coming.
rain coming in.
I don't mind wet, dry.
Well, it's all about making sure we've optimised that one moment in time, and we're trying to pick that right moment now. And with the conditions being so changeable, we've had the rain, it's now sunny, and we're hoping that the line's going to dry out. And I mean, for us, ideally, a dry session is what we're looking for. But we're just trying to make sure that we don't leave anything to chance, that we've covered every option, and that when the opportunity's there, we try and make the most of it.
It's massive. You could go down slips like that.
Every corner's going to be changing by the second.
Yeah, it's going to be massive track evolution. Whoa, he's off.
Heavy rainfall before the GT session meant the drying track conditions were extremely difficult to manage and read. Richard Lietz in the Porsche made the most of it and got the pole for the GT Pro. And it was the Aston Martin of Stuart Hall who claimed the pole in the GT Am category. So now it's time for Danny and the prototypes to get out on track for their 20-minute qualifying session.
You're in your own little world, you're focused, and once you're in the car, you're strapped in nice and tightly. With 10 minutes to go before the start of the session, I always try and do a lap of the circuit in my head, thinking about what gear I need to be in, where I need to brake, my reference points, how much speed I need to carry in the corners, and really and truly, I've done the lap before actually doing it. It's then just actually going out there and putting all what's in here into practice on track.
Without the pressure, there wouldn't be any point in going racing. You can feel it inside when it gets close to qualifying and the start of the race. And I mean, as an engineer or mechanic or a driver, I think we all feel the same passion for it. And yeah, it's a very exciting time for us.
And on his first run on intermediates, Danny already experiences trouble with an off, highlighting just how tricky this track is.
Okay, we have everyone on standby for a change of slicks. There will be no fuel.
He makes it back to the pits to change tyres to slicks. And whilst the team wait to give it another shot in the LMP2 category, it was the number 42 car of Greaves Motorsport who put in a stunning performance, claiming pole. In LMP1, the Toyota Hybrid with one car here in Silverstone put in a valiant effort, but they just didn't have enough to match the Audis. They qualified third overall. Alan McNish dominant throughout the practice sessions, just missing out on pole by just a 1/10 of a second, losing out to the Audi number 1 who go to the front of the grid. As for Straka, their tactics and performance all came together as they made it to best of the rest.
We've got to forget about the Audis and the Toyota because we're not ultimately racing them. We're in the privateer class and that's what we've got to concentrate and focus on. So yeah, to get the pole position in the privateer class is really happy, is a good thing being on our home circuit.
Probably find everybody's trying, and there's no high load of fuel and stuff like that. So it's all on the same level, on the par level, new tyres, and we know exactly where we are. So you go confident in the race.
So the fourth round of the championship at Silverstone, providing a fantastic atmosphere as the cars got ready for the start of the race. We had celebrities and main fans alike, including a few of our British gold medalists. JRM, one of the local teams, inviting the C2 canoeists, Etienne Stott and Tim Bailey, to come down and experience the World Endurance Championship.
I mean, that was the nicest thing, really, apart from the sporting performances from Team GB that were obviously amazing. Like the whole GB public as hosts for the Olympics, it was just amazing. The events went so well. The crowds were really warm, super supportive everywhere you went. The volunteers and people were really friendly, and it was an amazing atmosphere. A great time to be in Britain and be British as well.
Oh, I mean, it is one of those things. When you're a kid, everyone loves motor car racing. Car racing is just wicked. There's an amazing atmosphere, that sort of energy, a frenetic buzz around. We had a quick lap out in the car, and it's just like, you know, that is 4 weeks ago. We'd never have done something like this, and it's an amazing step for us to be able to do.
Naturally, Silverstone, the home of British motorsport and indeed international motorsport, bringing out all the main stars from both motorsport and the surrounding area. The drivers particularly enjoying being able to race back on this famous venue. For many teams, it's also a chance to have a home race, including Martin Brundle's Grieve Motorsport team.
It looks good, doesn't it? Sun shining finally, decent crowd in today, track's in great condition, and the grid looks competitive. It would be nice to see a few more LMP1s up the front, but plenty of LMP2s and GTs, so 6 hours of frantic action.
5-minute boards on the grid, 5-minute boards on the grid.
As the cars, teams and drivers got ready,
3-minute boards on the grid.
who would it be?
The start of the formation lap. Green flag for the start of the formation lap.
Toyota versus Audi for LMP1 honours. Who would it be?
Hi, I'm Alan McNish. Welcome to Silverstone 6 Hours. A fantastic circuit. It's my home race. Let's go for a lap. Let's see what it's all about. Coming past the new pits facility on the right-hand side, 170 miles per hour into this new first corner, but it's just a little bit of a dab of the brakes and lift. 150 miles an hour as you're then getting the car into that and then flicking it immediately left, hanging on with a lot of G-force before braking very hard into this new section. As I said, we're at the new section of circuit, and it's such a contrast to what came before it. Now that's the slowest corner on the circuit over here, and it really is one where you've just got to get in and then you've got to try to feed on the power. Even though we've got traction control, you do need to get that power on the ground to accelerate hard along here and through the left-hand kink down towards the tight corners at the bottom. Now those ones, we've seen some fantastic overtaking. And when we talk about threading the needle, this section of circuit really is one where you have to. You've got to come through there, you're coming out of Copse Corner, 125 miles an hour, you're hard on the throttle, coming up over the rise. You can't see this apex section through here, so you're actually turning in before you really get a feel for where the circuit goes. 150 miles per hour through this right-hander, trying to keep as much over to this right-hand side of the circuit as possible, because then you've got to get the car into the left, and then you've got to place the car into the right-hander after it. So from this point on, we're actually trying to slow the car down to get it to the right position to accelerate, to get its maximum straight line speed down towards Stowe, and a very important overtaking opportunity. And now back down to the last corner. Now the rear of the car dances under braking. You're locking the rears as you come up over the rise, trying not to go in too quick. Easy to be too far over there before flicking it right and trying to get the power down as you come through the last corner. Now we've seen people in the wet and in the dry struggling with what you think is a very easy corner, but then it's important to get over the line, clear, and start your next lap.
The fans and drivers poised for the start of the race. The race director bunching the cars up.
Keeping up with the speed of the leading car. Please start grouping up.
And he got his wishes. 2x2 formation around the final turn at Vale to get the 6 hours of Silverstone underway. Over the line they go then. It's been a great start by the Toyota. As expected, Alex Wirtz getting a really good pull from his hybrid system through the first turn, and he's up to second position, but the JRM car has gone round of Peter Dumbreck from 7th position overall. He's taken Alex Brundle with him around the outside, and so Brundle has gone from the pole position on LMP2 all the way to the back of the field now. Some serious work to be done, but significantly Wirtz ahead of Alan McNish in the number 2 Audi. In the GT battle, it's the Porsche against the Ferrari. And then Ferrari versus Aston Martin for 3rd spot at the moment. The Aston Martin with better pace at the moment. Down the inside and taking 3rd position. Plenty of traffic for the Audi number 1 car to contend with. As a great battle continues right down at the back of the GT-AM category. This is the traffic they're just carving through now. Ferrari, Porsche and Corvette in the battle there. But look at this. Alex Wirtz closing the gap to Audi. Now in the slipstream as they come towards Copse. And Andrea Lotterer is going to be in trouble here. He's caught the back markers in a very awkward position. And Alex Wirtz has taken advantage of that. Got caught in a really awkward position. Great driving from the Austrian. Saw that developing all the way down the old start and finish straight going into Copse. And Toyota take the lead of the World Endurance Championship.
I love the Silverstone track. It's high-speed corners, it's challenging. I think the key of this racetrack is that there are so many fast corners that are not quite flat out, so you, the driver, can make the difference and getting the car set up properly and really attacking the racetrack. And most importantly, it pays you back. If you really, do your best and drive it perfectly, the track will give you some time back.
First stop for Toyota. Audi also getting ready in the pits, but the Toyota mechanics have been hanging around for a very long time. And after just 22 laps, Toyota make their first stop, and that promotes Audi back into the lead of the race, although they've lost 10 seconds in terms of pace over the last few laps. Lotterer not managing to match Alex Wirtz's pace in the early part of this race. But how much further can Audi go on fuel? That is going to be an important factor, surely. Now the pits are getting very busy with LMP2 cars. The leading LMP2 of Starworks exiting pit lane and promoting John Martin in the ADR Delta car into the lead of the race. There is the number 1 Audi, 3 laps later than Toyota. That could be significant as we come to the closing stages of this race. On board with the 88 Team Feldmeyer Proton, carving his way up through the field and past the Aston Martin. Shedding a load of bodywork at the same time, and now got the Ferrari to pass as well, and he's done so. Let's have a quick look. Did it exactly the same as how he passed the Aston Martin just 1 lap before. All of a sudden, it's coming to the Porsche here. And Feldmeyer leading both the GT-AM and GT Pro category. So Toyota have the pace, but do they have the fuel consumption and reliability of Audi rivals? Stuart Hall jumping out of the 98 Aston Martin that qualified so well up, but hasn't got the pace in this race so far and has dropped back in the GT-AM fight. In from 4th position, the 71 Ferrari. And at the front of the GT Pro category, it is Ferrari versus Porsche and Aston Martin as expected. Great battle in LMP, side by side going through Copse, and here come the rest of the Ferraris. Now this is a guest entrant, the JMW Motorsport run Ferrari 458, racing in the Pro category and matching its AF Course teammates. Kazuki Nakajima waiting then for the Toyota to come into the pits. And once again, it's going to be all about... See, they're losing time as well in the pit stops. They're losing about 5 seconds when they go and refuel, and they're losing time in terms of laps. So as this shakes out, by calculations, I would suggest Audi may well have 1 less stop than Toyota, and that'll be enough to win this motor race, even if they don't have the pace.
15, cars to must respect track limits at the exit of T15.
Yeah, plenty of complaining by the race director on track limits. The curb's very flat here at Silverstone to protect Formula One cars. And plenty of action and lappery going on as the Audi carves his way through some of the LMP2 category cars, as well as the GT AMs. Somewhere on the right-hand side is the status GP car of Alexander Sims. And once again, we've got a change in the lead for LMP2, but this time it's on circuit. Starworks losing the lead to ADR Delta as the Murphy prototype Orica Nissan loses a wheel. Tom Christensen has done his stint, and Alan McNish dives back into the car. Oh, there's a mistake in the pit lane as the two cars dropped it down without a new tyre on, so that's going to cost them a few seconds. Either way, lots of happy faces in the Toyota pit lane. It is going probably better than to plan. Remember, they didn't race at Spa. They only raced at Le Mans. Oh, and the 32 Lola Coupe Lotus has got a problem as Benoit Trullier just barging past Tracy Crone, and Crone goes for a wild ride on the outside of Stowe.
The best thing is for the slower cars to keep their line and do what they should be doing, driving a racing car at racing speeds on the racing line. Then you can predict where they're going to be. It's when they start trying to jump out of the way for you, or you're going to a corner and you think the braking, downshift and turn-in phase is all finished and you're hard on the throttle, only to find that somebody brakes again in the middle of the corner, which is completely alien, and that catches you.
Audi number 2, Alan McNish, now chasing down the Toyota ahead of him as we have a race into the pits between Aston Martin and Porsche. And that's left the 51 Ferrari well out in the lead of the race with Giancarlo Fisichella. And again, much like we've seen in the LMP category, the GT Pro Ferraris are going way better than Aston Martin and Porsche in terms of fuel economy, and that could win them the race regardless of pace. Nicolas Manassian is aboard the Jota team this weekend. Great to see him back in World Endurance Racing. Let's hear his thoughts about racing with this well-known British team.
Silverstone is the heart of motorsport. There is a racing team around it, Brackley, Silverstone, and Milton Keynes. You know, it's just in the middle of all those places. When you come to racing, it's a very difficult racetrack. Once you master it, it feels very good. I've won every single race I've done. I mean, every single category I've raced at, I've won at Silverstone. So it's very special, and he always gave me a boost. LMP2 is like, and go for it. So I'm in a good team. The Jota team they've proved they can win. So you know, I'm not gonna let anything go. I'm gonna push hard and try to win. Yeah, for sure.
Jota have been very successful in the ELMS, but so far the run not going particularly well here in the World Endurance Championship, round 4 of the championship. And once again, in the GT Pro battle, a change of position. This time, Porsche ahead of Ferrari. For second and third in LMP, still a good battle between Manassian, who has had a double stint to the car, and the Morgan behind. Oh, and that's disastrous for the leading GT Pro car, the 77 Porsche. Looks as though it's got suspension problems, and that's going to promote this Aston Martin, the 97 fully worked car, into the lead of the race. Whilst the pit stops shake out at least. Plenty of work for JRM and Karun Chandok to do as he works his way through the field, trying to get past Johnny Kane at the moment, the Stracker car, for 6th position in LMP1. The leader of the race, however, is a Toyota, with the number 1 Audi in 2nd spot. It's extremely close, as you can see on circuit, as we fight through the traffic. In the pits, the ADR Delta car that leads the LMP2 category. is going to drop down in positions having pitted. Some slightly different strategies in terms of driver lineup going on within those top of the class. And really, until the end of the race, we've got no idea how it's going to shake out. And now down the inside comes Benoit Trullier to initially take the lead of the race over Kazuki Nakajima, but Nakajima got far more drive out of the Stowe corner and slides back into the lead. They are on different pit stop strategies, remember, but it's very, very psychological to have a Toyota if ahead still of the Audi. They've led more laps so far during this race. And this is what happened a little bit earlier on in the lap. Nakajima having to take to the runoff area to get past one of the Aston Martins. Such was he unsighted. So Ferrari then of Bruni chasing down the Aston Martin that's just ahead of him. Aston with the faster lap times, and they need to really, really push due to the fuel consumption that's going on. The third place, 458, is just behind them as well. So all three of them locked together. Olivier Plan now at 24. Morgan leads LMP2. Nakajima out, has done his work, and Nicolas Lapierre into the pits, into the car, and will take over for his double stint before they hand over to Wirtz to finish the race. Meanwhile, it continues to shake out and puts the Audi back into the lead. Warren Hughes losing a position in the LMP2 category, although it's slightly out of position. He hasn't yet pitted in that particular car. And once again, plenty of lappery to do as the Signatech Nissan gets past. Benoit Trullier in the pits.
Stop and go penalty due to the contact previously in the race. Car 1 has just done his stop and go penalties towards decision number 13.
Oh, and that's Nicolas Prost going for a wild ride in the leading LMP1 privateer class. He comes across the Chrome 57 car, gets a knock on the side, and was very, very lucky to keep the car out of the barriers. But I think there might be more that meets the eye with that car, maybe damage.
If you've made the error and you can't apologise enough, and in fact, you usually apologise too much, people just want to move on. If somebody else has made the error, then you have to grin and bear it and say, it doesn't matter, we'll win next time. It is the most difficult aspect of this, and of course, mistakes do happen. I mean, we're absolutely on the limit of grip, but we're challenging the car, we're challenging the racetrack, and maybe it's your mistake, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's another driver's run into you. Whatever it is, you're the one in the car at the time that it had a problem, and you carry the can, and it's painful.
Leading the GT AM category by quite some margin now. Matt Griffin brings the 61, of course, Waltrip Ferrari in. Some 5 or 6 laps later than his rivals, and back out onto circuit to continue to lead. Plenty of traffic still for Audi number 1 to contend with. Have to back off going through Woodcote there to avoid running into the back of the JRM Honda. They are supposed to be in the same category, but just look at the pace of our worked cars. Graphics showing the 61 car not leading, but of course pit stops needs to shake out before we find out exactly who leads each category. As Alex Brundle goes alongside the PCOM 49 machine, and this is for 5th position in class. Solly Arite managing to hold on to that spot, but some really brave driving from Alex Brundle, and now we're down at Vale. He looks to the inside, and I think he's going to make that position stick. Some awesome moves, really showing his mettle here at Silverstone.
Stop and go, car 12, for contact with car 57, towards decision number 15.
And so, whilst Rebellion are placed in 4th spot at the moment, they are going to lose that with that stop and go. They're also going to have to come into the pits and change the rear panel of their car. As we look at the leaders after, with 2 hours still to go in this 6 hours of Silverstone. Oh, and Christian Zugel very unnecessary barging off one of our Aston Martins, and they're based just down the road from Silverstone, so we went and had a look.
Hello, welcome to Aston Martin Racing. Come in and let's go on a tour. This is an Aston Martin V8 Vantage GTE, which is still in the early stages, obviously, of being built. Here we have a chassis which has come off the production line at Gaydon. One of the first things we do is take off some of the excess glue in order to save weight. We can save 3 or 4 kilos that way. We also do some modifications, such as the safety cell. So there's a roll cage, an FIA homologated roll cage here to protect the drivers in case of an incident. And we also modify the chassis in other ways. For instance, you can see here we've actually cut away this part of the chassis to enable the engine to be taken out from the front. So we're actually trying to save weight and add performance on track, but also make the car easier to work on. And in this room, we prepare our race gearboxes. Now we come to the important part, the engine obviously, and we're about to take a look through the workshop, see where we work on the transmissions and also prepare the engines for the race as well. So let's take a look. And if we come through, you'll see the spare engine for Silverstone. The guys just finishing some last preparations before it goes onto the dyno. So what we're looking at here is a V8 Aston Martin engine. Due to the regulations, the block is the same as the road car. So once this is finished, it will be putting out around 480 brake horsepower. So 0 to 100 miles an hour in just under 4 seconds. So very quick, top speeds of over 200 miles an hour. And when this is finished, it'll go onto the dyno, which we'll take a look at in a second. They'll check it to make sure that everything's fine, and then we'll send it up to the circuit, and it'll be our spare race engine for the weekend.
Problems for the Murphy prototype, the RLR machine, as our leading Toyota comes into the pits, this time for a full service, and hands the lead back to the Audi #1 car again. And this is a significant one because the Audi is due in just a lap or two later, and that will put them then on the same amount of pit stops. Of course, Benoit Trillier doing an extra pit stop due to that drive-through penalty he picked up. Oh, and Karun's off.
Yellow flags are being deployed. Marshals will try to push the car back.
Chandok losing the rear end.
23.
And also, big impact for the Signatech Nissan of Jordan Tresson. And that has given us a safety car period to clear up the debris. Chandok back out on circuit. And that gives us a chance to head into the fan areas and see how the spectators, all 35,000 of them, are enjoying the Silverstone 6 hours. The green flag is flying once more here at Silverstone, and the Audi and Ferraris taking advantage of the safety car period and gaining time on their rivals. Oh, and Julien Jus taking a quick trip across the gravel trap at Maggots and Beckett in the Status GP car. But falling into the right safety car line, very, very, well, not something you can control. And Audi and Ferrari just had the luck with them. Also ADR Delta in the LMP2 category, benefiting as well and moving up into the lead once more of the LMP2 with the Signatech and Starworks cars battling for second position behind. Here is the 26 machine at the moment, trying to get past, yes, the Lola of Gulf Racing, getting in the way and causing some frustrations aboard that black machine. Battle for 5th spot, with the Jota car just slowly fading away as the team owner Simon Dolan takes the wheel, and then Sam Hancock as well. At the front of the field though, the gap between Audi number 1 and Audi number 2 is over a lap. And Tom Christensen's race is going from bad to worse.
You've never won any race until somebody waves this funny little black and white cloth at you, and then they start handing out the trophies and the champagne and the points. Until that time, anything can happen. Cars can break down in the last corner, you can crash, anything can happen. And often, if you are in the lead and you're coming into those final few laps, suddenly you start hearing noises, and you start thinking, oh, did it sound like that? Did it just misfire a little bit when I put my foot on the throttle? Did I see a puff of blue smoke out the back when I lifted off, or whatever? And usually it's all right. It's just you're getting a little bit anxious at that point about getting the victory put away.
44 minutes remaining. The Toyota has already made its final stop. Audi still due one more. And if the two car can stretch it out, they will only need to do one more stop with just 40 minutes left, and that's about the length of a stint. However, it's not going to be enough to put them in to contention for the lead, and in fact, the Audi number 1 car does look like it's got this race wrapped up. Still plenty of traffic to carve their way through. Just 2 retirements in this race. Everyone else who had problems have got their cars back out on circuit and running again, and therefore still a busy circuit. It's a long circuit, Silverstone, but it's still very busy. 2 Irish contenders running together, Status GP and Murphy Prototypes, battling for 8th position. 2 very, very fast single-seater pedalers aboard those cars, Brendan Hartley and Alexander Sims. And the fans regrouping in the grandstands now, waiting to cheer on the final few laps of this race. ADR Delta, Alan Docking Racing, based at Silverstone. They can wheel their car back to the garage, and it looks like they may pick up some very large silverware here today. And also, it's going to go for another victory to GT Pros for Bruni and Fisichella. And that all down to just doing one less stop. Now we've got a car off, and that is Andrew Howard in one of the Aston Martins with alternator problems. And 2 very contrasting garages, Audi looking pretty relaxed, Toyota looking pretty tense, and the grandstands looking very full indeed. And let's now have a listen to Gérard Neveu, who is the CEO of the championship.
More than 35,000 fans and spectators today. Incredible race on the track, fantastic facilities, and a real joint venture with the circuit staff. It means that we already discussed for next year, but I can tell you that we will build next year a huge Endurance 7 in Silverstone. Definitely a fantastic place in Europe to welcome the WEC.
Penultimate corner, the 71 car in the gravel. Andrea Bertolini was 3rd position, had Stefan Mucker chasing him down. But for the other Ferraris, it's been a very good day. AF Course leading the way both in GT Am and also GT Pro, thanks to superior fuel strategy and Bruni now creeping his way back to the checkered flag. For Toyota though, it's what might have been Audi, just stronger in terms of strategy. And over the start and finishing line, Andrea Lotterer takes the checkered flag. Benoit Trullier, Marcel Bass are celebrating in the garage with the team. It's been yet another commanding victory from Audi, and they really had their whole race in the palm of their hands. Anthony Davidson around Silverstone to cheer on the Toyotas, and Wirtz picking up second position.
All the others stop on the start-finish straight. We want to see two
Third spot will go to Tom Christensen and Alan McNish. But really, happiness for the number one car, and also for a very strong result for Toyota. One final slowdown lap, and Gianmarino Bruni picking up the checkered flag for GT Pro, and a battle right to the end in GT Am, but eventually falling the way of the 44 car in second position, and ADR Delta picking up their second win in LMP2. Eventually the LMP car would end up 8th overall. Plenty of LMP2 finishes and a very healthy grid indeed. Just three finishes in the end in GT Pro, with Ferrari ahead of Ferrari and then Aston Martin, and there are the people who retired. A massive round of applause to every single podium to the Ferrari of AF Course Waltrip.
We stuck to our strategy, which was to be careful with the fuel and run a fuel-saving map most of the race, and that's what helped us win the race. And luckily enough, we were quick with that as well, so it's brilliant, fantastic.
In LMP2, it was the local team of ADR Delta receiving the biggest cheer on the top step of the podium.
We went away from the moment, worked on a few things where we were a bit weak, and I think we proved we're a bit stronger than we were there today. So it's awesome effort, really. It's just nice to finally win one of these things.
In GT Pro, it was fuel saving for the Ferrari 51. Of course, picking up yet another victory in that category.
From the beginning, we were just following Porsche and Aston Martin. We knew them fuel consumption is higher than us, and at the end we could do one stop less than them. But anyway, even after that, we were leading the race easily, and we won by nearly 2 laps on the second on the second Ferrari.
And of course, in the LMP1 category, Works teams granting the podium in first, second, and third. Such was the reliability. But a great result for the Toyota of Alexander Wirtz, Nakajima, and Nicolas Lapierre.
Don't forget, we fight against a decade of Audi experience, and it's only our second race after. Edmar Föstina took the lead, we extended to 20 seconds. But with the rules, we consume a bit more fuel, have one more pit stop, and in the end, Audi was too strong, they won. But with second is really cool, and I'm very happy. Thanks for Toyota and all the guys in the factory.
Absolutely, but 10 years experience really paid dividends, and the world champions for 2012 after just 4 rounds are Audi.
The beginning was not an easy race, the Toyota looked really strong, but as you saw, maybe they drove less laps than us, so strategy helped us a little bit. Unfortunately, then Ben had a collision that he couldn't really control, and we had a drive through, so we thought, ooh, this will be tight, but then finally in the end we managed to stay ahead, and it's fantastic to win again with our Audi e-tron Quattro with the hybrid system working really well here, so it's great, and it's really good points for the World Championship as well.
The Drivers' World Championship, still lots to play for in that, but 3 Audi men on the top step of the podium. A great weekend's action from Silverstone, and in just a few weeks' time we'll continue in Interlagos. See you then.
World Endurance Championship.
World Endurance Championship.
6 hours of Sao Paulo.
I want to see you